Imagine two investors. Both start with the exact same rental portfolio. Both own 5 properties. Both have the same amount of debt, the same amount of equity, and the same amount of cash flow. Fast forward 20 years. One investor owns 15 rental properties. The other still owns only 5. So here's the question. Which investor is actually wealthier? Most people immediately choose the investor with 15 rentals. But what if that's the wrong answer? And what if the investor with only 5 properties reaches financial freedom years earlier? Today, we're breaking down the math behind one of the biggest decisions in rental property investing. Should an investor keep buying more rentals? Or should they focus on paying off the ones they already own? The answer is far less obvious than most people think. And by the end of this video, one side will clearly win in cash flow. The other will clearly win in net worth. The surprising part is deciding which one actually matters more.
Let's begin with a simple example. Meet investor growth and investor freedom. Both investors own 5 rental properties. For this example, each property is worth approximately $400,000. Each property generates around $250 per month in positive cash flow after accounting for realistic expenses. That means each investor is earning about $1,250 per month from their portfolio. Not life-changing money, but a solid foundation. Now both investors receive the same challenge. Every month, they have an extra $2,500 available. They can either use that money to grow or use it to eliminate debt. This is where their paths split and where the results become very interesting.
Investor growth decides that more properties equal more wealth. Every dollar of cash flow gets saved. Extra income gets saved too. Eventually, enough money accumulates for another down payment. A 6th property is purchased, then a 7th, then an 8th. Over time, the process repeats. Acquire, stabilize, save, repeat. At first, progress feels slow, but then something powerful happens. The portfolio begins generating more cash flow. That additional cash flow helps fund future purchases. The snowball starts rolling. Now there are 6 rentals producing income, then 7, then 10, then 12, eventually 15. On paper, this strategy looks incredible, and in many ways it is. More properties mean more appreciation, more equity growth, more tenants paying down loans, more opportunities to build wealth. By the end of a long investing career, investor growth could potentially control millions of dollars in real estate. But there is a catch. Actually, several catches. More properties mean more complexity, more roofs, more maintenance, more vacancies, more systems, more management. And throughout much of this journey, the investor is constantly reinvesting cash flow instead of enjoying it. The portfolio becomes larger, but freedom may take longer to arrive. Keep that thought in mind, because the other investor is about to create a very different outcome.
Investor freedom looks at the same portfolio and makes a completely different decision. Instead of buying more properties, every available dollar goes toward paying off existing loans. Month after month, year after year, no new acquisitions, no growing door count, no social media bragging rights. At first, this strategy looks boring. Nothing exciting seems to happen. 5 rentals remain 5 rentals. But under the surface, something important is changing. Debt keeps shrinking. Mortgage balances keep falling. Interest costs keep disappearing. And eventually, the loans are gone. That's when the math completely changes. Because mortgage payments are usually the largest expense on a rental property. Remove that expense, and cash flow can increase dramatically. The same properties, the same tenants, the same rent, but far more money stays with the owner. Investor freedom doesn't build the largest portfolio, but they build something else. Income. Real, spendable income. And that difference becomes important later.
Let's compare results. Investor growth owns approximately 15 properties. Investor freedom owns 5. At first glance, the winner seems obvious. 15 beats 5, right? Not necessarily, because cash flow and property count are not the same thing. A leveraged property may generate income, but part of that income is constantly being used to service debt. A debt-free property doesn't have that burden. In many scenarios, 5 debt-free rentals can produce surprisingly strong cash flow, strong enough to cover major portions of living expenses, strong enough to create financial flexibility, strong enough to reduce dependence on a traditional job. This is where many investors experience their first mindset shift. The goal isn't necessarily owning the most properties. The goal is creating the lifestyle those properties are supposed to support. And for many people, cash flow matters more than bragging rights.
So who wins? The investor with 15 rentals or the investor with 5 paid-off properties? The answer depends entirely on the scoreboard being used. If the goal is maximum net worth, the growth strategy often wins. If the goal is stronger cash flow and earlier financial independence, paying down debt often wins. Neither strategy is universally correct. Neither strategy is universally wrong. The real mistake is pursuing a strategy that doesn't match the life an investor actually wants. Because rental properties are not the goal. Freedom is. And before making the next investing decision, that's the question worth answering first. What kind of freedom is the portfolio supposed to create? If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the Rental Playbook for more practical rental property strategies and investing frameworks. And remember, the best portfolio isn't always the biggest one. It's the one that gets an investor where they want to go.